What is up, everybody? In today's video, I will be reviewing the brand new horror film Immaculate, directed by Michael Mahan, and it stars Sydney Sweeney. Now, this is a religious, aka Catholic, horror film, if you really think about it. It's been done many, many times before, and I know a lot of people were kind of very hesitant to approaching this film because, let's face it, if you look at the trailers, it does look like something that you've seen before. It doesn't look like anything that is breaking new ground. And I don't necessarily think that this film is, but I did actually enjoy it as a horror film. It was something where, again, some of the stuff seemed a little more predictable, a little more, just, okay, been there, done that. But at the same time, I actually really enjoyed the characters here, especially Sister Cecilia, who is played by Sydney Sweeney. She literally steals the show here throughout the whole thing, in my opinion. She really hits it home, really sells this thing. She has an event when she's a younger kid where she almost freezes to death and she gets revived. So she believes that, God saved her in this moment, and she is going to, devote her life to, being a nun. She gets invited to this Italian convent here in Italy, and it's, to tend to these dying nuns in their last few days, right? So she is, making a big turn in her life. Her family life and back home kind of fell apart shortly after her accident and everything like that. So she really had nowhere to go. So she shows up here, and basically things start to turn a little evil when she becomes pregnant. And, they're asking her, how did this even happen? Did you break these rules? And she's like, no, I've never had, any relation with a man, nothing. And so that kind of turns her into, this Mother Mary type figure in the church's eyes. And let's just say things don't go all according to plan, and, it's not just a normal pregnancy. So again, have we seen certain things like this before? Absolutely. The film doesn't waste too much time as far as getting, right into it. It is an 89-minute film with credits, so it doesn't waste too much time. I think a lot of films now have to be, 2.5 hours, or, especially if it's A24. Nothing against A24 films, but sometimes they always tend to have, very long running times, where I like that this kind of gets in and gets out pretty quickly, and it doesn't waste too much time with, seeing, some blood and gore, seeing some deaths, all that is in here. It isn't that much of a slow burn. However, I did really enjoy the fact that we got, some really cool death scenes when we got them. And, some of the stuff that ended up being a little bit more predictable with like kind of where the story was going. And some of the jump scares that were in there were a little like, okay, like, you could have did a little bit better. But the cinematography was great. I thought the setting was really cool too. Really does capture, this kind of isolated feeling in Italy, especially when there's that language barrier between Sister Cecilia and, the rest of the whole convent, because they all speak Italian. They're all just fluent Italian. So she has to have, people translate for her constantly. There's some people that speak English, but it's very little. So it does kind of make you feel a little more isolated with this character. And, she starts to see just weird stuff go on. And then, like I said, she becomes, pregnant with this evil, so to speak. And let's just say all hell breaks loose. And Sydney Sweeney steals the show. I mean, literally, it's worth seeing just for her performance alone, because she really does capture the dread. But then also when she's able to get a taste of revenge, let's say, you really feel how powerful that revenge is. And some of the stuff in here, in a way, it kind of reminds me of a B movie in many ways, because there's just so much that, like, you're just kind of like, okay, how would this person survive that? And it still ends up happening, but you kind of just go with it. You kind of suspend your belief a little bit. So I like the fact that there's, less is more sometimes, with kind of what they show, what they don't show. But, there is a cool kind of unraveling of this convent. And again, it doesn't really waste too much time. And that's what I liked about it. You know what I mean? That's maybe why I felt like it was, something that wasn't too too much of a drag to get through. It didn't overstay its welcome. I actually really enjoyed the music here by Will Bates. Did a really good job, and has that really creepy, unsettling feel. And a lot of people have mentioned the nunsploitation thing with this film, and I would say it is very on par with some nunsploitation film. You know what I mean? The fact that they actually shot it in Rome, and it was really shot on location for Italy. It does make it, it does make it a lot more authentic. It's not like there's a bunch of CG. It's not like there's a bunch of sets. You know what I mean? But yeah, this was in development hell since 2014. So almost 10 years of them trying to get this film made. But just because of, filming schedules and everything else, everybody got, a lot more successful, like Sydney Sweeney. She got really successful and was really busy. So the fact that she, is a producer on this as well and actually believed in the role and sold this role as good as she did, because not like she takes on many horror film roles, but I really enjoyed her performance in this. And like I said, I think that's what kind of saved this film from being just kind of like, all right, like a generic run-of-the-mill, Catholic religion kind of horror film. We do have The First Omen coming out this week as well, so I guess there's a lot of, religious horror films that are kind of showing their way back into theaters. But no, I really enjoyed this film. It wasn't the most original thing I've ever seen, but I did think that for seeing it, especially I saw it for $5, on a $5 Tuesday. I even would have spent $10 on this. This wasn't that bad. It kind of snuck under the radar. Neon Pictures are putting out a lot of interesting horror films or mindfuckery films. I saw a lot of trailers for Neon and their films coming up before this film. So obviously they're going to pepper in a bunch of trailers before their own film. But yeah, so I'm happy to see that, this is kind of a callback to some of the old 70s exploitation, religious kind of horror films that you would see back in the day. And that's what it kind of reminded me of. So I did enjoy it for that. So, what are your thoughts on Immaculate down below? Did you love it? Did you think it was just kind of so-so? Or at this point, it is kind of towards the end of its run. It came out it came out March 22nd, so it's still in theaters for a little bit, but I'm sure it will be on VOD and streaming very shortly, so people might be able to check it out there, and you might prefer to watch it there instead of going out to the theater. But I like to always check out some horror films. It gives me a reason to go to the theater. Me and my girlfriend always like seeing these too, so it's always cool to check out a horror film. Sometimes it really sucks. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's just, okay. This one was actually pretty good. So those are my thoughts on Immaculate. Stay tuned for more horror film reviews and just movie reviews in general on this channel. Take care. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.